Hi everybody. Today's episode, as promised, will be on the TNT cannon. Now, before I get started, I'm just going to do a quick demonstration on the physics of a TNT cannon on Minecraft. And for those of you who already know about how TNT cannons and stuff work, then please feel free to skip ahead to some other chapters discussed in this video. Okay, so how do we set up a basic TNT cannon? Well, first of all, you're going to want to make it about 8 blocks long. I don't know if that's 8 blocks. I haven't really counted, but we'll see because we need water in the bottom of the cannon. So I put it there, and yep, that's perfect. So this is the first step to making a TNT cannon. Now, you can do that, and that's like pretty much step 2. You can use whatever you want, like a redstone torch, a button, whatever. And the way I build my cannons is I do this. And the reason I do that is because I like to put like I put a little arm here, and the only reason I do that is because I like to this is like the design that I use the most. And I'll show you, it's just easier to show you why the arm goes there. So this is basically how I set up a TNT cannon. There's a bunch of different variations, like the simplest form being just the standard TNT cannon, which basically the only thing you have to do is, shit, that's in the wrong spot. The only thing you have to do for a TNT cannon is to make sure you have the water for the TNT. You have to have at least one TNT to launch this one. This one here is the one that gets launched, and this is the force that launches it. So obviously the more TNT you have, the stronger the launch is going to be. Now, a simple TNT cannon can just be like this, and you can manually light this one, but it's important that all these ones go off at the same time. So I'll just detonate it like this, then manually detonate that one, and then it will be launched. Now the way I do it is I set up this model here, which is basically the exact same thing, but these repeaters here, I set up a delay on, just like that. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16 tick delay. It can be a much larger delay, but it should be fine for this cannon, which basically that means this one will be detonated long enough after these ones that this one will still explode as it hits the ground instead of exploding in midair, which doesn't work all too well. So I'll sit over here. There you go. It didn't explode in midair. Everything worked perfectly, and that's how it works. And now the reason why TNT doesn't wreck anything when you put it in here is because you can see how the water goes through the TNT as soon as it detonates. And the special property about TNT, exclusive to Minecraft, you put TNT anywhere in water, the explosion doesn't destroy anything. It absolutely harms nothing as long as it's touching water. Now the range on a TNT cannon, if you have it set at the most pathetic possible setting, you'll get something that looks like this. And we're going to wait for it to stop raining. Now you'll see the reason why they have to be detonated at the same time is because if I do this, it still only goes that distance, and that's because the first explosion is what oh shit. Uh-oh. Put that in backwards. Technical difficulties. Yeah, anyway, the first explosion is what launches the shot, and any explosions after that simply do nothing. We can get a little bit of range using that cannon, but if we want to shoot it really far, we're going to need a bigger cannon. And as you can see by this model here, there was a little bit of a problem I had with it, and I blew half of it off. So this is the it should be safe now, but this is the shelf style cannon. As you can see, all the TNT rests on the shelves, and this is really inefficient circuitry. But as I stressed earlier, it's important to make sure that all the TNT detonates at the same time. So I've taken care of all the repeaters just to make sure that. So obviously the top gets detonated after the bottom because it takes longer for the electricity to go through the repeaters to actually carry it up there. So we have to set delays here, and that's why this one is set to a 3-tick delay. That's just because of how much TNT I have. Now this cannon is set up with a timer on the shot, so I don't have to manually light the shot one myself. I can just push the button and watch it fire. So I've gone ahead and loaded the cannon now. As you can see, all the decks are loaded. And if we take a look on this side, this is a solid wall just to help guide the TNT, because sometimes the TNT doesn't fall exactly straight and it might land on these arms or fall off that side. So we hope it doesn't fall on the arms and it actually works properly. So it's not a very reliable design. But looks like it blew up this part already. So because this is a lot more power than another TNT cannon, the shot is going to go a lot higher. So we want it to detonate as late as possible. We want this TNT here to detonate as late as possible so it has a chance of exploding when it hits the ground instead of exploding in the air. So we have to set up a huge delay, and I think I've calculated this to be the exact right amount of ticks delayed so that this just barely detonates before these ones explode. So I'll go ahead and I'll launch it. Everything falls at the exact right time, and you notice kaboom. Where did it go? Now, it's not the frame rate of the screen capture, it's just that fast, and I'll show you exactly where it went. Now, for some reason, if I'm outside of render distance, it'll destroy something. So you can see the blocks here. These definitely weren't here when I put this glass over top of it. So I don't know why it did this actually at all. But this is where the shot landed. And I was hoping that it would destroy the glass, but I guess it doesn't. I don't know. It might just be a bug with 1.3.2. But as you can see, there are craters here from me firing this cannon. So as you can see, it has considerably further distance than the other model. So this is sort of a basic design, just stacked on top of each other in a shelf design. And it's sometimes the TNT gets caught and blows off these arms here that I've already talked about. You can see where the obsidian is where the blast has destroyed it before. So let's take a look at a different design. I call this one the Wraith. And basically, I call it that because it looked a lot like a tank, like the Wraith tank. I don't know if you've ever played Halo or Halo 3 or anything. But the Wraith is a giant alien tank. It's kind of purple colored. And this one sort of reminded me of it when I was building it. And I've correctly calibrated this one so that it will launch about as far as this one. But the only difference is that this one can carry more TNT and in a much smaller space. So I'll go ahead and I'll turn it off just so the TNT doesn't detonate it. But this repeater, I'll show you the experiment I did for this. I thought that TNT could only detonate if you had redstone on the block beside it, like so. And that is true, that it detonates that way. But what I wasn't sure of was, there, I'll just block up this a little bit. If I have a TNT block here, and it receives a charge through this block, will it detonate? And the answer is yes, it will. So, using that principle, I have each repeaters, as you can see, alternating side to side to side to side to side, detonating everything inside this blast chamber area. Now, unlike the other one, unlike the conventional cannon that is loaded like that, you can now load the next level on top of it, like this. But since we only need the source block, we can load on top of the source block as well. So the water is still under there, and all the other layers will be 8 shots instead of 7. So let's load this cannon here. Now the only fault of this cannon is that I don't have this one to detonate at the right time, so I have to do it manually with my trusty flint and steel. So, and this is connected to the switch on the back, so I can detonate it from the front, so I can actually stand here to detonate this one manually. So, we'll give this one a shot and see where it goes. So, it's much more reliable. Yeah, you can see how far that one goes. So, we'll just fly over here and see if we can find the crater, or see if it glitches again. Okay, so it only went here, so that's not as far as the other one, but it fluctuates sometimes because one of these craters here was also left by that cannon before. So to this, I guess, and I'll prove to you that this actually is a crater. See if we save and quit, and then we go back. I almost said go black. See, there's the crater. And you can see it just barely detonated because it didn't even make it to bedrock, which it's supposed to do. Okay, I have on some protection armor, protection 4, and some feather falling armor. And we're going to make it daytime. And I'm going to launch myself out of the cannon by standing here. And we're going to see how far it'll launch a person. Now, the only drawback is you have to be in survival mode. Otherwise, the flight, like you're flying, will slow down the like it's like a brake in midair, like it like brakes you so you don't actually go as far. And we're going to see just how far the thing is going to shoot me. So we launch it, TNT begins to fall, and just a little bit over the clouds. Notice it shoots us way further and not as far. Now if we save and quit and we go back, we'll save and quit, and then we'll join back, and I should take no damage. Voila! That's how you avoid falling to death, if you ever... And the one last thing I want to show you guys is this experiment here. How far can TNT fall before it blows up and destroys the cannon? So this one is actually set to 76 blocks, and as you can see, it destroyed the bottom part of the cannon. And this one is set to 75. So 75 is the magic number, and so the gold is 10, 2 gold is 20, 3 gold is 30, 4 gold is 40, 5 gold is 50, 6 gold is 60, 7 gold is 70, and then we have 2 silver, or iron I suppose. And if we drop a TNT off of here, we notice that it just barely touches the water before it explodes. And the reason why this is significant is because this is as tall as you can build a TNT cannon before it starts to blow itself up. And we'll launch it from 76 blocks just in case you don't believe me. And you'll see that it does in fact explode before it hits the water, and it took out this dirt piece here. Now I was hoping to have it finished for this video, but it's a really complicated project setting the delays properly. And what I've built is, if 75 is the tallest you can make a TNT cannon, then why not try to build one that is 75 blocks tall? And that is what I've begun here. This is a copy of the Wraith cannon, just extended and extended and extended and extended with a massive blast chamber. So by the time this TNT falls, it should just barely touch the water here before it explodes. And as you can see, that is the case. We can test that. We'll put some glass in here like that. So glass has a really low blast resistance, and it should explode if my theory is incorrect. But I believe I have it calibrated properly. So at the very top, we'll drop a TNT, and it does not blow up the glass. So it is perfectly safe as a reusable cannon. The only reason why it's made out of obsidian is because it would be a real bitch if something went wrong and it exploded all the circuitry because I hooked up the circuitry incorrectly. So the final version of this won't be made out of obsidian, but and the gold blocks are just counting how many inversions I have, and that's important, and I'll show you that later. But I gotta start doing this to all the different floors because the amount of delay it takes to get to the top equals out to this many repeaters. So I'm going to have to start building out and doing a lot more work on it. But this will be the next video, and this will be the Titan cannon, which is basically the Wraith cannon Mark II. So look forward to this next week.